Hi, I'm here with Ben Alarie. Ben is the CEO of Blue Jay. We're at Digital CPA 2025 in National Harbor, Maryland, having a great conference. And Ben and I just wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about a report that Blue Jay and CPA.com recently put out, studying the trends in AI and tax research. And so Ben, welcome. Good to be with you here today.
Thanks, Michael.
So Ben, we recently issued this survey from practitioners, kind of taking a look at how firms are interacting with various different research tools across the profession. I feel like we learned some pretty interesting things. I think the one trend that was pretty noticeable was just how AI adoption, surprisingly, is actually surging. It's just not evenly distributed if you look at the segmentation of firms. Maybe comment on that.
Yeah, so a few things we found. One was there's a ton of interest in AI, generative AI generally. We found between 54 and 55% of practitioners are using new AI technology to help them with their tax research. Interestingly, only 33% of the firms had formally adopted AI technology to assist with tax research at this point. And so there's a bit of a disconnect there. The firms are taking their time thinking about adopting these technologies, definitely intrigued by it. But people are racing ahead and adopting this technology, maybe going like kind of low-key rogue on their firms and using it because they're getting a lot of value out of it. And we'll talk about this in a moment, but they're getting a ton of value out of these new technologies. I think it is a really exciting moment in AI history where it's really becoming clearly very helpful tax professionals are noticing and adopting this tech.
Well, and so let's take that one step further, because I think, again, trend two is they have access to legacy research tools. I think people feel like the quality of content in those tools is high, but yet adoption is surprisingly low, and they're going to alternatives. Even the survey showed that 80% are leveraging tools like Google for their tax research versus a legacy platform. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, this has been a stubborn thing in the profession for as long as I've been aware of it. Knowledge managers complaining about the fact that the firms are subscribing often to 3, sometimes 4 different tax research solutions with tremendously good proprietary content in those systems. And yet the vast majority of users, like 80% of users, are going to Google to conduct tax research and not going into those systems. I think the reasons are most of the legacy tax research solutions are difficult to navigate for users. So there's a lot of friction in that experience. And so it does end up taking a lot of time. The knowledge managers are frustrated because they know how much money the firm is allocating to that budget in order to get access to that premium content for their people to conduct responsible tax research, which is you want to go to the gold standard content when you're doing that research. And so it's been that way for a very long time. Usage rates of those legacy research tools it kind of bobs along 15 to 25%, depending on the firm, depending on the time of year. But that means the vast majority of those licenses are not being regularly used. It's too difficult to get the work done. And so people are turning to Google traditionally to do that research.
So it makes perfect sense. You have better user experience, which makes things easier to find, makes it a more efficient process for the practitioner. But the other interesting point cited in the survey was just how that translates into better client outcomes. Maybe talk a little bit about why that is.
Yeah, so we're seeing now a movement away from these legacy tax research tools into new generative AI tax research tools. And I think it's very clear why that's happening. These new tools address the major frictions or pain points associated with the legacy solution. So they are not difficult to navigate. They're actually very easy to use. And so they are massively time saving. I think the survey showed 93% of people who have had exposure to these tools agree that they are time saving. And it turns out they're also, for the knowledge managers who care about this kind of thing, like from a budgetary perspective, they're significantly less expensive than these legacy tax research tools that folks are subscribed to. And what it means for the client is you've got these new tax research tools that are making available tax knowledge, access, tax research, tax reasoning at an incredible level that just wasn't available before using the legacy tooling for conducting tax research. And so for clients, this is fantastic. You're going to get supercharged advice more quickly than ever before. And your advisors are going to be able to provide more strategic advisory tax planning work for you within the same envelope of time. And so as a client, you're really significantly benefited from the emergence of these technologies. So it's good news for the practitioners who don't have to, suffer with these legacy tools in the same way as they've been trying to. It's good news for tax knowledge managers because people are drawn to these tools. So the weekly active usage on BlueJay is in the high 70% range across the board, which is very strong compared to the legacy tools. It's great news for clients too. They're going to get better advice, more strategic advice from their tax professionals.
Ben, it's great being here with you today. Appreciate your time, and it is an exciting time in general as more of these tools roll out. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.